Okay, we have somebody in the audience who is live streaming this, and the person who's live streaming this, who does clubhouse debates, specifically put in a request for people in the YouTube chat to come in and troll. Okay?
So, and let me explain why. So when I was talking with Chongo, we were talking about beliefs held without evidence, and that evidence was the standard that he created, and he said that beliefs held without evidence are irrational, which I would agree. And then we talked about how we each have a worldview, and you would have a worldview that does not that would disclude God, as you have stated, at least implicitly. And so, is your worldview held rationally? What do you think?
Yeah, some parts of it, and others aren't. But as soon as I realize that I have irrational views on something, I will probably change my mind.
I think you might be cutting out a little bit, but so is your belief that there is no God, is that a view that is held rationally?
Yes, as long as I haven't seen any evidence for God, I think it's rational for me to not believe in a God.
How
So
did you determine everything is not evidence for God?
I don't see why it would be evidence for God.
That's not an answer to my question.
Yeah, you asked me why. The reason
You
why.
made a determination.
The reason why I don't.
Okay, wait.
Should I
Is
answer?
it your reason? Yeah, let me rephrase the question for you. Is your reason to believe in the not God world? Is your basis for believing that the not God world is true because you don't have a reason to believe in the God world?
Yeah.
Okay. You'll forgive me, I'm just eating something. I'll be with you in a second. That's an appeal to ignorance fallacy. Are you aware of that? The appeal to ignorance fallacy is that a proposition is accepted as true solely on the grounds that the negation of the proposition is without a reason.
Well, but I need some kind of in order to believe something, I need some kind of reason to believe it. Don't you agree?
Okay. What is your reason to believe in the not God world? And you told me because you don't have a reason for the God world, correct?
Could you answer my question?
Well, we're still on my original question, which you're not focusing on, okay? Your position is that the not God world is true because you don't have a reason to believe in the God world. That is your position, correct?
Yes, I've already said that.
Okay, well, that's an appeal to ignorance fallacy. The appeal to ignorance fallacy is that a proposition is accepted as true solely on the grounds that the negation of the proposition is without a reason. Okay. So, do you understand what I just said?
Not really, because I mean, I
Okay.
think
All right.
you would.
I'll go over with you what an appeal to ignorance fallacy is.
No, maybe you can answer my
And
question. Can you please answer a question?
I will momentarily. Okay. So X is true solely on the grounds that not X is unconvincing. X is true solely on the grounds because not X is unconvincing. That's an appeal to ignorance fallacy. So do you understand what an appeal to ignorance fallacy is now?
Yeah, I see that would be an appeal to ignorance, but
Okay. So
I
the God world is the negation of the not God world.
can
So
I
if you
answer?
believe,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I think there are a lot of things that you don't believe in.
Okay, we're not discussing what I believe right now. We're discussing your belief. Okay.
Okay,
Now,
but
your position, sir, I'm very much accustomed to all of the evasive tactics that people deploy when I'm questioning them about their position.
No, I'm just trying to understand your worldview. I'm just trying to understand how you.
Okay, sir. I'll be glad later on to discuss my worldview. But what you're doing right now is a verbal tactics of evasion. Now, you believe that the not God world is true, right?
Yeah, I don't believe in God. Yes.
Okay, so the not God world is true because you don't have a reason to believe in the God world. Well, that's the same thing as saying X is true because you don't have a reason to believe in not X.
No, but I mean, I don't know whether it's true. I just don't believe.
Axel, are you having trouble understanding me?
No, but I don't know where. I mean,
Okay, all right,
I
okay,
think you are
Axel. Then if
missing
you're
a
not
point
having
because,
trouble,
as I said,
okay, Axel, what you're doing right now is the tactic of bickering.
no, I'm trying to clarify my
No,
position because I think
okay,
I think I was not clear enough.
Axel, is your position that the not God world is true solely on the grounds that the God world is without a reason?
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean. I don't believe in God, but I don't know whether it's true.
Axel, are you trying to maintain? You'll have to excuse me for a second.
There's a confusion here in the discussion.
Okay, no, well, there's no
I'm trying to clear
confusion
that up.
on mine. There's no
Yeah. So
confusion on my part. I know perfectly
yeah, but
well
let me explain.
what's
Let me
going on
explain.
here. Okay,
Let me explain.
Axel, let's stick to the questions. Okay, you're entering into bickering mode in order to evade the question that I'm putting to you.
No, because I want to clarify my
Let's say we
position.
say, Axel,
I
please
don't think you
stop.
understand my position.
Axel, please, I do understand your position. Now,
No,
is
I
it
don't
your
think you.
position? Okay, Axel, is it your position? There's only two positions one can take upon God. You can either choose to affirm God or you would choose to not affirm God. Which is your position?
I mean, I haven't. I don't believe in God, if that's what you mean. But
Okay,
God could still exist.
Axel, do you choose to affirm God or do you choose not to affirm God?
How do you mean I choose? I mean, I haven't chosen.
Axel, I couldn't ask you this question in a more simplified form.
I don't know what you mean.
Either you affirm that the moon orbits the Earth, or you do not affirm that the moon orbits the Earth. Okay, either
Yeah,
you
but that's not
affirm
a
that God is.
choice.
Okay,
That's not a choice.
Axel, I'm getting agitated with you because now you're just simply being argumentative as with me as a tactic of evasion. Okay, now I'm an experienced debater, and I know most of the kind of tactics that people pull. Now, do you refuse to affirm and assert that God exists?
If I refuse to assert, no, I don't refuse anything. No.
Okay, so all right, so you do assert that God exists?
No.
Have you decided to not assert that God exists?
I haven't decided anything. No.
Okay, okay. Now that's a lie. You have decided that the not God world is true. You said that minutes ago.
Yeah, and I said that I was misrepresenting my position.
Okay, Axel, you can. There's either you. We can either adopt theism or you will adopt atheism. Okay. Do you think that you can take a neutral stand toward God?
What does that mean?
You don't know what neutral means?
I mean, whether I like him, whether I think he exists. I mean, what do you mean by neutral in this
Axel, do you
context?
know what the word neutral means?
Depends on the context. What do you mean in this context?
Axel, you need to stop with this tactic here because it's not working well for you. You're not fooling me. You're not fooling Redefined. You're not fooling anybody in the audience. All you're just simply being is being evasive, bickering, and being argumentative. Now, your position is that the not God world is true, correct?
I'm still not sure what you mean by that, but I don't believe in God.
Axel,
But God can still exist.
not believing in God. Now, if you don't believe in God, then you will believe in the not God world. The world that you believe in collectively is absent God, right?
Well, God can still exist, even if I don't believe in him.
Okay, so now you're claiming neutrality.
I said it all.
You're,
That I can hold. I can say that I don't not believe in God, and God can still exist.
okay, so you're
I can be
claiming
wrong.
to be you're claiming to be an agnostic.
Call it whatever you want. That's my position.
Alex, is English your first language?
No,
Okay, what's your first language?
Swedish.
Okay, well, your English is very good. Do you know how the word agnostic is defined in English?
That you do not know something.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's more specific than that. One, according to the man who coined the term, agnosticism claims that we do not know or believe something without sufficient evidentiary support. Okay, so agnosticism is not simply limited to knowledge, but it includes belief. That we do not know nor do we believe in a proposition without sufficient reason. Excuse me. Okay. So are you claiming now that you are suspending judgment, that you are neither affirming nor denying God's existence?
Yeah, exactly. That's correct.
Okay. Well, here's the problem. There's only two possible worlds. There's the God world versus the not God world. Do you accept that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the God world and the not God world, either be universally related and derived from God, or facts will universally be not related and derived from God. So, do you understand that in the God world, all facts will have a universal relationship with God? In a not God world, all facts universally will be without a relationship with and from God. So, do you understand the nature of facts in both possible worlds?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so when you invoke facts, are they with or without reference to the derivation from God?
I'm not sure what you mean.
When you invoke facts, do they reference derivation of God, or are they without that reference?
I mean, what does it mean to reference the derivation of God?
That they would be which means that they would be universally derived and dependent upon God, or universally without the necessity of God.
I mean, it's not a conscious. If I do, it's not. I
Axel,
don't.
when you invoke facts, do your facts positively reference the necessity of God in your own thinking?
No, no, not in my own thinking. No.
Okay, so the facts that you believe in simply exist stand alone for whatever reason, but without referencing derivation and the necessity of God. Okay, that's a accurate representation of your position. Now, what I'm trying to clarify to you is that in spite of the fact that you're attempting to represent your position as suspending judgment about God, you've decided that facts do not necessitate referencing the necessity of God, right?
Yes, I agree, I think.
Okay. Now, if one holds to the belief that facts exist for whatever reason, but without reference to the necessity of God, that is the same thing as saying facts exist standalone with no God needed. Okay? Do you understand the equivalence?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Now, if somebody makes the statement directly or indirectly, God is not needed, all right? That is the same thing as saying God doesn't exist.
Oh, but I don't know whether God is needed or not.
No, okay, Alex, can you focus on what I'm saying to you instead of you simply reasserting your claims? Now, if somebody asserts directly or indirectly, God is not necessary, is the statement God is not necessary?
No, but I haven't said that. I haven't said that God is.
Alex, can you focus on what I'm saying, please?
Yes, go on.
If one asserts directly or indirectly that God is not necessary, God is not needed, the statement God is not necessary is the equivalent of saying God does not exist. Are we clear?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Alex, it is in God in this conversation philosophically is defined as the creator, as the ultimate source of why anything at all other than himself exists and that he's a mind. Okay? So within the definition of God, whether or not you believe in God's existence, God is defined as the ultimate necessary precondition. Okay? So
okay.
a part of God's definition is that he's a mind. Part of God's definition is that he is the necessary precondition for everything else that is not God. So if somebody expresses that God is not necessary directly or indirectly, that is the same thing as saying God does not exist, whether or not they're aware of it.
Yeah, it sounds like a tautology. If
No, it's not. It's not a tautology. It's a statement of propositional equivalence. Okay,
I mean,
if
you're
somebody,
basically asking me if a necessary thing is necessary. Of course it is. So
Axel, if if one, when we're talking about God, we're talking about a category of things that is unlike anything else in existence. Okay, now, do you accept that if one affirms or asserts that God is not necessary, that is the same thing as saying God doesn't exist?
yeah, according to your definition of God,
No,
yes.
no, no. Okay, no. According to the propositional content, if one says that God is not necessary, then God cannot exist. Now,
Yes, of course, because your
now,
definition of God
are
is
you
that He's
affirming?
necessary.
Are you affirming when you invoke facts that when you invoke facts, do you affirm that they are with or without the necessity of referencing God?
If I'm affirming with or without referencing
When
God,
you invoke the actuality of facts, whatever those facts may be, when you invoke facts, are those facts invoked with or without referencing the necessity of God?
yeah, it's not something I do in my mind. No.
Okay. Alex, when you invoke facts, do you reference, do those facts, are they with reference to the necessity of God or without referencing the necessity of God?
As I said, it's maybe I do, but I'm not. That's not something
Okay,
I'm.
Alex, when you
I know
invoke
about. But
Alex, when you invoke facts, when you do this, do your facts reference by choice? Do you positively reference the necessity of God? Do you do that?
Oh no, it's not a conscious process for me. No.
No. Alex? So the answer is when you do choose to invoke facts, those facts are invoked as actual without referencing the necessity of God. Right?
Okay. Okay.
So you believe that facts exist standalone for whatever reason without referencing the necessity of God, correct?
They stand.
Yeah, Alex, this
That
isn't very
I don't know about that. No,
Alex, this isn't complicated at all. Okay, how old are you, Alex?
I don't see why it matters.
Because if you were 14, I could understand why you're having trouble. Looking at your profile picture, if that's you, you look like a grown man. Are you a grown man, Alex? Axel?
I'm not here to discuss my age.
Okay. Well, is that your profile pic?
I'm not here to discuss my profile pic.
Yeah. Okay. So in other words, you're having difficulty in understanding the simplest of grammatical constructions. Now, you invoke facts by choice without referencing the necessity of God. This is what you do, correct?
I, I mean, I don't do it by choice. I mean, it depends what you mean. If
Of
I
course you do it. Of course you do it by choice because you choose not to reference the necessity of God.
No, I haven't chosen anything. No.
Okay, all right, Alex. What you're doing right now is you're simply being a contrarian for the sake of insulating yourself from having your position examined. What you're trying to do is you're trying to represent your atheism as a kind of that atheism is a psychological state, and in that it's an autobiographical statement without a propositional content about whether or not God exists. Does your atheism constitute propositionally that God does not exist?
No.
Okay, so for you, atheism is just simply an autobiographical statement and isn't making any statement about the existence of God. Then,
Correct. It makes a statement about my beliefs.
okay, so then what you're doing is you should not call yourself an atheist. Then you should be calling yourself an agnostic because atheism is the proposition that there are no gods. Atheism is not simply or merely a word that categorizes and simply an autobiographical statement. Okay, theism is propositional in nature that there is at least one God. Okay, atheism is that there are no gods. All right, so you're just simply saying is you call yourself an atheism, and as you are representing atheism, that atheism is just simply an autobiographical statement of your psychological state where you are merely absent a positive belief in God, but you do not deny the existence of God. Does that accurately represent your position?
Yeah, it sounds correct.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, that doesn't hold up upon examination because you're now claiming to suspend judgment about the existence of God, but you haven't suspended judgment. You've decided, do you accept as true that it is necessary to reference the necessity of God when invoking facts? Do you accept that?
No, I don't see why that would be necessary.
Okay. Okay. So you've decided not to accept that, right?
I've
You
decided not to.
you've decided that it's not necessary to reference God as the ultimate precondition when invoking facts.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So you've decided that when invoking facts, that your facts will be invoked as actual without referencing the necessity of God. This is what you have decided. Okay, so we're clear on that.
Yeah, I don't think God is necessary for me to
Okay. Okay.
state
All right.
facts.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So now we're getting clarity now. If somebody asserts directly or indirectly God is not necessary, that is the propositional equivalent of saying God doesn't exist.
No, because that's what
No,
I think. I mean, I could still be
Axel,
wrong.
Axel, Axel, Axel. We're not talking about that you could be wrong. That's very magnanimous of you, where you admit that you could be wrong about something. It is irrelevant whether you are claiming you could or could not be wrong. It's irrelevant at this point. Now, your position is you have decided that facts are invoked as actual without referencing the necessity of God. Now, let's make it very clear. This is not rocket surgery. If somebody says God is not necessary, that statement propositionally is equivalent to saying God does not exist, whether they realize that or not. Are we clear?
No, actually not. I don't see why.
Okay, Axel, the statement God is not necessary, you agreed to earlier in the conversation that the statement God is not necessary is the same thing as saying God doesn't exist. You agreed to that. Okay?
Okay, but yeah, but if you're asking me if a necessary thing is necessary, yes, of course it
Sir,
is.
sir, you agreed with me, we're in agreement, that to assert directly or indirectly God is not necessary is the same propositional content as saying God doesn't exist. You agreed with that. We're in agreement on this, right? To say that God is not necessary is the same thing as saying God doesn't exist. Are we clear?
To say that God is not necessary is to say that God does not exist.
It's the same, it
Yeah,
possesses the same propositional content. The speaker who says God is not necessary may be unaware of its propositional content of equivalence. Let me repeat that. The individual who asserts that God is not necessary may be unaware that it has propositional equivalence to saying God does not exist.
okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it makes no difference whether or not the speaker is aware of the propositional equivalence. To say that God is not necessary is the same proposition as God does not exist. Are we
Okay.
clear?
If yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, your definition of God is that he is necessary. So if I say that,
Well, if somebody gives me a definition where God is not necessary, then we're no longer talking about God. We're talking about some creature that is somehow um, not ultimate and the necessary source of all things. Now, the point is this: you and I are in agreement to assert that God is not necessary is the same thing as saying God does not exist. Are we clear on that point?
yeah, yeah, okay.
Okay. Now, when you assert facts, do you assert facts without referencing the necessity of God?
Yes.
Okay. Now, does necessary and necessity come from the same root concept? Necessary and necessity?
I think so.
Okay. So when you say you invoke facts without the necessity of God, that is the same thing as saying these facts exist with no God needed.
Uh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I think I agree.
Now, you now told me a minute ago that if somebody affirms or asserts God is not needed, that is the denial of God. Well, that's your position. You're asserting facts exist without referencing the necessity of God. God is not necessary.
Yeah,
So you
I
can
mean,
no longer listen to me. You can no longer maintain that you merely lack belief in God, but that does not constitute the denial therein, because you've already admitted that you invoke facts without referencing the necessity of God. You have agreed that the assertion that God is not of necessity or God is not necessary is the same thing as saying God does not exist. So we need to stop playing this little game as atheists do on the interweb, that they don't believe in God, but they're not denying God. You have already stated that God is not necessary. So your position entails that God does not exist, in spite of the fact that you want to deny that you're denying God, but in fact you do deny God. So please explain to me why God does not exist.
I don't know why. I have no idea.
Okay, so is your declaration that God does not exist, is that arbitrary, or do you have a reason for such a declaration?
No, I have no other reason other than I haven't seen any good evidence for it's of God.
Okay, well, here's the problem. Okay, is you're going back again to the appeal to ignorance fallacy. Okay, if you say the not God world represents X, X is true because you don't have a reason for not X. That's an appeal to ignorance fallacy. Are you aware of that?
Well, I don't agree because I think that I
Axel,
I
do
don't
you
see any
accept the
problem
do
with.
you okay, Axel, if I say to you X is true solely on the grounds that not X is without a reason, is that an appeal to an ignorance fallacy?
Yeah, that's an appeal to ignorance, but I'm not
Okay,
claiming anything.
let's let X represent the not God world. Okay? X is true because not X is without a reason. The not God world is true because you don't have a reason for the God world. So you have committed the appeal to ignorance fallacy.
Can I try to clear up the conversation?
No, you can just wait, please.
Okay.
So, Axel, so do you understand that you are committing the appeal to ignorance fallacy?
No, I don't agree actually.
Okay, Axel, let's have the not God world be represented by the letter X. You believe X is true, and you
No,
believe
I
X
don't.
is true. Okay, Axel, if you don't stop this, I'm just going to eject you from the room. Okay? We've already made it clear your position is God is not necessary, right?
I mean, I don't know whether he's
Okay,
necessary or not.
all right. Goodbye, Axel. See you later. You're done. Okay, so this is what they do. They just play. I overdosed on stupid pills when they get cornered with because their position is philosophically indefensible. So that they pretend they have a temporary lobotomy.